Ladies and gentlemen, real easy. This is the Q&A session. Basically, you ask a question, our legends will give you an answer. Even wrestling fans can figure that out. Dawn Marie is on her way, so give her some time, she will be in. And Jake the Snake Roberts cannot participate in this today due to unfortunate reasons. We'll just begin. Give me a hand raise and go ahead.
I have a question for the American Dream. What's your views on Vince McMahon?
I think he's about 6'3". But he revolutionized the way we look at TV. I'm not saying wrestling so much, but the way we look at wrestling on television. He's the only game in town. And good, bad, or indifferent, that's what we got. And I'm enjoying what I'm doing with him right now. It's really cool.
Next, Nate? Josh.
Question goes really to anybody on the panel. I grew up watching wrestling in the 80s and the early 90s, and it wasn't until like the mid-90s that I stopped watching, and I thought, focused too much, on what was going on outside the ring rather than inside the ring, which is what I enjoyed when I was a kid. And I was wondering, since you were the guys that I watched growing up, what your view was on wrestling today. If you think it's taken a turn for the worse, a turn for the better, it's become too commercialized, and it's not relying on, granted these guys are in great shape and do phenomenal things in the ring, but it's not quite the same feel. I was wondering what anybody's take was on that, what they thought.
I think the athletes are in better shape today because they got more time to go train and work out. But back when I started in the mid-'60s, everybody drove every place. Thank you. This was a soda fountain. So everybody drove every place and they didn't... Too loud. Too loud. What are you talking about? And the degree of wrestling has changed. I like the 60s. I like stuff like that. But don't forget, in the 50s, things changed from the 40s. It's a different business now. It's a different game. It's just different. And there's so many things you can say. But they have an audience, and they do business, and it works. So that's okay.
Anybody else? Questions? Young man, what's your name?
Lona.
We get the building till 4.
Anybody next? Right here, this young lady over here. What's your name?
Lisa, I want to ask to all the legends, do you think that you guys maybe will come back to WWE either to wrestle or just to be backstage, doing some backstage? And for you guys that were at WWE Homecoming, what do you think of it?
I'll come back if they pay me. No, really, they make the right offer, I'll do anything. I'll work car washes, bar mitzvahs, whatever you want to do. But, yeah, to make an offer, I might do it. But right now, I have no desire to. I just like what I'm doing, being retired, and not remember what day it is. That's fun.
It was cool. It was a lot of fun.
Here, Jess, you need this.
No, it was cool. It was a lot of fun, and these guys here, we're all part of it, and it's really a cool deal to go back and be with people that you actually competed against and went down the road with and shared a tremendous bond and relationship. There, we almost have a fraternity now in a situation. To be able to talk to Harley, outside of the ring is really cool instead of getting my ass kicked every time.
Okay, I'm done.
He has his own entrance music when he comes out.
As far as me, I don't have any desire to go back to the WWE. We all sacrificed our lives. We spent a lot of time on the road. In a lot of cases, it caused problems at home. I was very lucky that I got out at a young age when my kids were young, and the results were pretty good for me. But I know a lot of wrestlers that sacrificed a lot of their prime lives and weren't able to watch their kids grow up. I'm a teacher now, so I can't leave. I really enjoy the profession. You know, it was great for me. It was great for all of us, you know, when we were doing it. But the sacrifice is way too much.
What was the question?
Would you come back to the WWE on camera or behind?
Never. No way. No, not a chance. I do a lot of hunting and fishing. I'm a country guy. Like to plant my gardens now and play with my grandchildren. And the only reason I'm here is because I do like to come and see, you know, my friends up here, Harley and Bobby and these guys. You know, it's a brotherhood. We lived, we were with each other more than we were with our wives. And, you know, it's, like I said, these are my beloved brothers, and I miss them. And like I said, that's a lot of reason why I do it. But in all honesty, if something were to come up, me helping with the kids and training, I know for a fact that I know how to train kids, and I see talent. I know how to get it out of them. And I think that's probably one of my gifts. And but you know, when you have teachers here like Harley Race and Dusty, and you know, they were my teachers. And y'all had asked, well, how much is? Well, it's not that. No, but you know what I'm saying. That's who we learned from, man. And these guys taught us, and I mean that truly. They, you know, that's why in the 80s and the early 90s, the wrestling just, bam, took off. Just went nuts. It's because when you have tutors like these guys here and how they taught us, and it was an honor, and I thank them. And I thank you fans very much.
Let me say the funny thing is, you see us all sitting up here, and there's some guys up here that aren't here right now, but you remember the names. You wonder in 5-10 years if anybody's going to remember the names of people they saw on TV today. It's weird. I don't know why, but they seem to remember us more than anything. People always ask me about Dusty. Always ask me about Harley Race, Terry Funk, Orndorff. Nobody's ever asked me about anybody on the WWF or WWE. And they have a great audience, but it's just they ask. Maybe it's because I grew up in this era, but they always ask me about these people. And they always will.
I still have to run a little group, and it's called WLW. And the motto of WLW is shut up and wrestle. And I think that sooner or later they're going to have to come back to the concept of wrestling is spelled with a W, not with an R. And eventually they'll start putting a little bit more of that content back into it. Hopefully they will.
Hi. First, I'd like to apologize to everyone up here for being a little late. Sorry about that. I'm disrespectful. I was just recently released from the WWE due to the fact that I have a little one. And I'm just really happy that I had my opportunity there, and I worked very hard to get there, and I was very blessed, and I was lucky. Would I go back there? I've always learned never say never, but at this point right now, no. After the baby's born, I'll possibly entertain going to a lesser schedule somewhere else, you know, pursuing other things. I love this business. I've always loved it. I never got into it for any other reason than because I loved being there and entertaining you guys, and really just feeling good about what I accomplished when I came out of that ring. I never loved who I was in that ring. I loved what I did in that ring. And I really think that made a difference between who lasted and who didn't. So I hope I can continue entertaining, but if I choose to be a mom, I'm really happy and excited about that adventure also.
Would I go back to
the WWE, I kind of doubted, I know I would go back. Well, first of all, Vince wouldn't invite me back because I'm one of the few that used to fight with him constantly all the time. And the reason was because I was sick of being lied to and taken advantage of. So it was easy for me to leave, and it's even easier not to go back. I control my own destiny. I don't have to put up with somebody like him, and so no, I would never go back.
Well, I've wrestled for some real rinky-dink organizations in the alleyway in Cleveland in back of some bar. You're darn right I'd go back to the WWE because it is wrestling. I don't think it's as great as it was in the 80s, and wrestling's heyday was 70s and the 80s, and that's why everybody remembers everybody from the 80s and the 70s, because that was wrestling's heyday. That's when that was Vince's heyday. That's when the ratings were 0.0. They were fabulous, and so everybody knows everybody from that era. And that's the reason they don't know everybody from this era, because the ratings are way, way down. But yeah, I would go back. I still wrestle today, and I would love to train the guys, and I love the business. It's my passion. I don't have a hobby. Rather than taking a boat out and act like I'm fishing, but I never fished fish. I never had a hobby. Wrestling, I guess, was, you know, it was my livelihood. It was my entire life. Really had a passion for it. My father, Johnny Valentine, was the same way. I asked my dad one time, I says, what do you really like in life besides wrestling? And he said, nothing. He just liked to wrestle. So, thank you.
Next question, what's your name?
My name is Lee. My question is, what are your views on Hulk Hogan?
Who? Anybody?
Anybody?
I'm sorry, what do you say?
What are your views on Hulk Hogan?
Views on Hulk Hogan.
Views on Hogan? As far as I'm concerned, he was one of the greatest attractions this business has ever had and has. Everybody's made a lot of money with that man, and a lot of guys don't like him, a lot of guys like him. I can't say anything bad about him. He's been fine to me. You have to judge people by the way they treat you. And he's never hurt me. He's never done anything I know behind my back. So he's okay. He's been great for this business. I mean, face it. I don't see anybody that's ever been stronger around the world than that man. Of course, television had a lot to do with it, and a lot of people put him over. But it was done right, and thank God we were there for the ride. That's how I look at it.
I'm obviously just such a rookie, you know, on this table, this lineup, and I'm like amazed that I'm sitting here. But the one thing I can say about Hogan was I did have the honor of actually being able to work in the same company with him, and he doesn't have to say hello to me. He doesn't even have to look at me, and he always was very polite, very cordial, very personable. Never acted like he was a superstar to me, like where, you know, here I was and here he was, and I always had a lot of respect for that. And I think a lot of younger people coming to business need to look at that and use that as a role model and not think they're something bigger than they are.
Next question, what's your name?
My name is David, and I'm in Staten Island. Okay, I had a two-part question for Del Marie. First off, pregnant or not, still one of the sexiest women in professional wrestling. No problem. And first part is, how would you compare WWE-style writing to ECW during its heyday? And what is your opinion on the Divas and the way they're portrayed in WWE today?
Well, the biggest difference between ECW writing and WWE is ECW didn't have any. They kind of just went out there. They gave us an idea of what they wanted to be done and what needed to be accomplished. And I think Paul Heyman's greatest strength in this industry, his genius, as they call it, was that he saw hidden talent in people. And then he gave us a stage in the foreground to do what we do. And he said, this is what I want as a finish, you know, this is what I want to be accomplished. This is kind of what I want the direction to be. Go out there and do what you do. He gave us that creativity And that's why everyone had their own individual characters, because we created these people with the help of the molding of Paul Heyman. And I really believe that that was what his genius was. You know, the writing team at WWE, it's different. It's very structured. You know, they tell you what to say, and you do it. And you know, and that's fine. It's just two different ways of working. That's all. Not one better than the other. It's just whatever one you prefer as a talent. And your second question.
Today's divas and the way you think they're portrayed in WWE, especially with these nationalists, and people that really don't have the wrestling experience like you or Victoria or other people that have been there before.
You know what? I don't blame the females well, we'll talk about the females. So I don't blame the females for being in there and doing what they do. They were given an opportunity and a chance to go out there and make a paycheck, because half of them never even watched the product or don't even know I saw wrestling before they got involved. So, but I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They're taking an opportunity and they're making the best of it to feed themselves and their families. God bless them. Do what you gotta do. The way they're being portrayed, I never had a problem with the way women were portrayed in the industry, because you're playing a part. If I play, I mean, Julia Roberts played a prostitute, you know, in Pretty Woman. It doesn't mean she's a prostitute in real life, okay? Why is it any different when we're on a stage in the wrestling ring? There is no difference. And that's the way I feel. I don't look at these women down or anything like that. They're doing their job. They're doing what they're told, and I have a lot of respect for that.
We were talking about, as far as the talent, and let's face it, there is a bit of a downfall in wrestling right today. And the reason is because we're out here right now, us, exposing our business. You're asking who's doing the writing. We never had writers. And then the next thing, we knew how to work. You would never know what the word work meant. And to be quite honest, that when you make a show around women, to be quite frankly, I think there's a place in them every now and then. But I don't think to bring a show and it ain't gonna work, and it hasn't worked. And that's why Vince doesn't have that many house shows anymore, because they're dead. Nobody knows how to work anymore. And everybody talks. You have the internet. And to me, that's where it is right now.
Next question, man. What's your name?
My name is Cornelius, and my question is for Bad News Allen. Did you find any discrimination working with Rowdy Piper when he paid himself half black at WrestleMania?
Okay. Piper and Vince came up with this idea, and then they ran it past me. And being that I didn't like Piper at all, because he actually is a racist. He used to like to throw around the N-word a few times, and I had to call him on it. So I felt, they asked me, well, what did I think about it? I said, oh, this is a great idea, hoping that one of the brothers would kick his ass. Because sooner or later I figured if I had to work with this guy, because the plan was after WrestleMania 6 I was supposed to do a program with him, but they changed it and they put me with Jake, which was probably one of the better days of my life in the WWF at the time. Because I knew sooner or later if I had to go from town to town working with this guy, that something was going to happen, and it was going to happen for real. But with Jake, it was a night off. I loved working with him. I thought he was a great worker. Still is, I guess. And it's so funny to tell me he's still working. But anyway, yeah, there was that element in there. And unfortunately, they got to realize, too, that people of African descent, their green dollars is just as good as anybody else. And they don't come to these shows to be insulted or put down by anybody. And I tried to explain this to them, and it was something that just completely went over their head.
Next question, what's your name?
Wayne. This question is for the whole panel, but a bonus question for Dusty. Question for the panel is, how did your names come about? Did someone tag you with it, or did you come up with it yourself? And the question for Dusty, did you ever face Terry Punk?
Everyone knows that the longest feud in our industry is me and Terry Funk, still to this day. But I was just listening to these guys here. I don't think you guys really understand. I mean, I'm not saying you're stupid, obviously, none of you. No, I would never do that. But the opportunity to sit and talk to history is an amazing thing. And I always look at the History Channel, and I look at things that happened in the past. I think the past is the future in our industry, and we have to just sitting here listening to everybody with their opinion, and sitting down from the Brendan Bull, Paul Arndorf, a guy that really took WrestleMania to a new level. Bad News Bears. Bad News Allen are the Bad News Bears and me. But we grew up in the same hood. He knew from a long time ago when we talked, the way I felt about, no matter what race, creed, or color. And Bobby and everyone here, it's an honor that you're listening to history, guys. It's just amazing. And you come into these things, whether it's 50 people or 40 people, there should be 10,000 people here. This is history. It's amazing to talk openly about our industry like these guys do. The hammer, it's just crazy. My name came from a baseball player, and my dad was a big fan of the Giants back in '54. I believe Dusty Rhodes was
Giants.
New York Giants hit home runs in the World Series. I lived on a street that wasn't paved till I was 15 in East Austin, and I grew up always nicknamed a Dusty, and Danny Pletcher, Bulldog Danny Pletcher from Dallas, one of Fritz von Erich's main lieutenants. Throw the name Rhodes on there, and the rest is history. Except when I went to Canada for the first year that I was in the industry, one town in Canada called me Sandy Reynolds. One was Sandy Rhodes, and the other one was New Faces Match, which I liked the best. So I'd look on the card and say, I'm not on the card, but down at the bottom it said New Faces Match. So that was Victor the Bear. Harley remembers this. Victor in Kansas City, Harley did this to me. It said, Victor the Bear versus New Face. So there's only one kid running around there, 19. Harley was like 35 at the time. And,
yeah, but Harley told me the bear bitch next to me.
Yeah, I'm only joking, but so that's how I got mine. Yeah, my dad really, I was always called Dusty, so, American Dream is in all of us, so that goes along with the turf.
I got my name, my first name is Ray, and Wilbur Snyder and Dick the Bruiser, who broke me in the business, changed it to Bobby, because in Chicago at that time, Buddy Rogers was there with a manager named Bobby Davis. So I got the name from Bobby Davis, who I got to meet later on in life, and he made out pretty good. He's got about 20 Wendy hamburgers in San Bernardino, so we're doing pretty well, but I got the name after Bobby Davis.
Myself, nothing special to my name. I don't have any kind of history like that. It's something pretty much made up or picked out of a hat. Nothing special.
Tito Santana came from, I started working for, and most of us worked for Vince Sr. And when the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, came to New York, I just tugged along with him. I just came and with no problems whatsoever. And Vince McMahon saw me work, and he told me that he wanted me to get a better name than what I had. My real name is Merced Solis, and there's no ring to Merced. So he said you need to have a catchy name. I always liked the name Santana, probably from the group Santana, and I went, the very first TV after that I did for Vince, he told me you're going to be Tino Santana, T-I-N-O, and I went in the ring and I signed a couple of autographs. It was my first TV, not too many people wanted my autograph. And I signed as Tino Santana, and when I walked through the curtains, Vince McMahon grabbed me and he said, no, you're going to be Tito Santana from now on. And I did 1 hour of Tino and then 17 years of Tito.
That's a vintage autograph.
Bobby, what was the question?
What makes you think I know? I'm only with your manager one time.
The name Harley Race my parents gave to me. when I first broke into business, I decided I'd wrestle. Everybody had a stage name, so I come up with one too, with the name of Jack Long. I came back home. My parents asked me, "Where have you been? We haven't heard anything about you." I said, "Well, I'm wrestling under a different name." They said, "Well, don't you think you got kind of a unique name all on your own, Harley Rhodes?" I haven't changed it since. Been fairly successful at it.
Mine actually started many, many years ago. I was 18 years old. I had a wife for 4 years, and unfortunately, he had committed suicide. And at that time, it was a very changing point in my life. I looked at you here in bad shape. And, but at the time, like, I just looked at my life and just decided to make a change. And I didn't like who I was or where I was going and what I was accomplishing. And I just said, that's it. I got to take responsibility for my life. And from that point on, I chose to call myself Dawn Marie, because my middle name is Marie. So that's just what I called myself. It was sort of like my change into becoming the person I want to be, not what I was at that time.
I started in the business in Japan itself, and Antonio Inuki was the owner of the company. And when I first got there, they actually gave me the name of Buffalo Allen because they had some kind of contest in Japan for somebody to come up with a name because they knew me from judo. And they came up with this name Buffalo, which I couldn't stand. I thought it was a terrible name. But finally, Antonio Inuki says, well, we're thinking of making you a heel because of just your mannerism and your facials and everything. But you got to come up with a different name. Well, the reason I had the name was coming in from judo because I was the AU national champion 5 times. And one time we had every year we'd have a national tournament, and I won it 5 times. But one year I went to the nationals, and Pat Boris, who was on the Olympic team with me, he was a middle lightweight. He just happened to be standing there, and they used to have a big board up, and they'd have everybody's names on it, with the weight class you were in, who were you going to compete against, and everything. So this one guy, he was pretty big, and he was in my weight class, and he was going to compete against me, and he looked up at the board, and he saw he was going up against me. So then, and plus I was a defending champ and everything, and they said, he says to Pat, he looks over and he goes, is he really as bad as they say he is? Or, no, he says, is he really as good as they say he is? And Pat looked at him and says, that guy is bad news. So he actually stuck the name on me. So through my career in judo, and actually Pat was on the, like I said, he was on the Olympic team with me. I got out there, so Inuki says to me, okay, we need to come up with a different name because I hate that name. I said, thank goodness, because I hate it too. So he says, pick one. I said, well, why don't they use the name they used in judo for me? He said, what was that? I said, Bad News Allen. He said, okay, that's the name. That's how my name became. When I went to the WWF, they changed it to Brown, but I always wrestled as Bad News Allen.
Well, fortunately, Johnny Valentine, my father, made it easy for me to find a name. So Valentine, I got that from him, of course, and a lot of tradition with the name Valentine. And then I was nicknamed the Hammer by a North Carolina TV announcer by the name of Bob Cottle. When I used to drop that elbow, or I'd been a guy with the top rope and hit him over the chest, I go, here comes the hammer, and it just stuck, right, the Hammer Valentine.
For Valentine, did you and Brutus ever beat Demolition?
I only remember wrestling him one time on television on one of the Superstars syndications, Des Moines, Iowa. I got a pretty good memory, but I can't remember the ending of the match, but we wrestled him only once.
Question. All right, my next question is for the King Harley Race. I've heard many different stories behind this, but I'd like to hear it from you. What's the true story about you bringing a shotgun to a WWF TV show?
Absolute yes. I don't know how Hogan started that rumor. just use common sense. If you walked into any big arena with a shotgun, what would happen to you? There's several of them I'd like to walk into that place.
Yeah, this question goes to Dusty. Dusty, I'd like to know, how did you enjoy your time booking and TNA? And the second part of that question, do you think Jeff Jarrett is the right man to be world champion right now?
Answer to that is most everybody said it, up here on the panel of the industry of the capability of. By the way, I wanted to say that Tito Santana, he went to West Texas State University. There were, you guys want history, there were 14 guys that went to West Texas State that are in our industry, and 3 of them were world heavyweight champions. It was amazing. It's an amazing story that many guys went to school out there and became professional wrestlers. But Jeff Jarrett is the only name that has the name identity. When you start with a company and it's a new name, and you say, well, I got to build this name, I got to build this product. Because he was at the World Wrestling Entertainment, because he was at all the territorial systems that ran during that era, he had his name is out there to represent whatever it is, that era. When you look at AJ Styles, who can do everything in the world but sell tickets. That's the key deal here, man. Paul Arndorf said that. Because this crowd right here is about the crowd that shows up to see them guys. And that's a shame, because they're tremendously talented. So the only guy that has sold a part of a package that sold tickets is Jeff Jarrett. So certainly Jeff is there. But the key here, there's not a guy or a girl on this panel that didn't draw a tremendous amount of money sometime along the road. So when you look and you read the net, and you say, boy, this guy is great. Paul London is the greatest performer. Jesus Christ, Harley Race is the greatest performer in the industry. And so, well, they had a big house the other night. Where were they? They were over in Podunk, Kentucky. And Paul was against AJ, and they do 75. It was up from 50 people. Shit. So that's the difference. So the only guy that they have, the only guy and I've been there. The great Dusty Rhodes American Dream, I looked out the curtain, there's 35 people there. So they thought they were going to get my goat and said, there's only 35 people there. I said, I drew my 35, AJ didn't draw his 35.
My question to the Hammer. I don't want this to come off as a disparaging question, because it's really not. Given how great of a wrestler you were in the 70s and 80s, and then you did the rhythm and blues stint, it just really didn't seem like it was you, and I was wondering if that was something that you really wanted to do and if you were really into it, because it didn't seem like your heart was into it. When you wrestled independently, it really seemed like you were just a great wrestler. And then when you did the tag team thing with Honky Tonk Man, it seemed like that you just didn't really want to do it that much. And I was wondering if that was something you really wanted to do, or something Vince threw right there.
Well, every time someone brings up one of those pictures of me with black hair, and it was only 6 months out of 35 years that I've been in this business, but that 6 months comes back to haunt me all the time. And actually, at the time, I was, pretty much on my way out. I've been there 16 years. They were chasing me around for a year trying to talk me into doing it, and one day I must have took too many tranquilizers or something. I let Jimmy Hart dye my hair in Phoenix, and then I watched myself on TV after I got back home. Oh, by the way, I told my wife I'd be waiting for her there in Tampa, and she drove right by me twice. And black hair. And so then I watched myself on television a week later, and I go, oh my God, I look like an Eskimo. No, it was fun to do, but thank God it's over.
Next question. What's your name?
My name is AJ. My question is for anyone on the panel. I just recently bought the Ultimate Warrior DVD, and he was portrayed pretty negatively, and I thought it was pretty interesting, and Bobby actually had a lot to say about him. But I just want to know if anyone else would like to share their opinion or stories on the Ultimate Warrior.
Brain, I'd like to know, of all the wrestlers that you managed, who was your favorite charge?
You know, that's like asking Bob Costas what his favorite team is. You know, you see so many games. I tell you, everybody I managed, I really can't think of anybody I really had a problem with. I mean, I managed some of the greatest stars in this business. I mean, Paul Orndorff, Harley Race and I were together in 1967 in Minneapolis. I can't even tell you what happened there. But you can read about the police files. But no, and I managed Harley, I managed Orndorff. I never had the pleasure of managing Greg because we were different territories at different times. Boy, they were all different. Andre was different than Stud. Stud was different than Blackjack Lanza. Lanza was different than Orndorff. They were all different guys. Kurt Hennig was a tremendous friend of mine and star. And there were just so many guys. You can't really say which was your favorite. They're all different stories. They were all fun. They really were. I enjoy what I did.
Anybody have a question? What's your name?
I'm Scott. I'm curious to know who was the wrestler you wish you would have had a feud with that you never had an opportunity to? For anybody.
Anybody?
I wish I would have had a feud with Eddie Guerrero. I mean, really. I mean, Eddie, Chavo Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, him or Benoit. He's a little too big for me. He had more muscles. Ricky Starr. You probably don't know him. Guys like that really were talented. I wish I could have had programs with. But I was lucky enough to have my programs with Pepper Gomez. Just some of the great stars in the business. I was lucky, very lucky.
Guys, we got about 10 minutes left. Anybody? What's your name?
My name is Jay. This question is for the entire panel. I was just wondering, throughout your careers as wrestlers, how big of a drive was it to attain, the various belts from federation to federation? How important was that in, wanting to go forward in the business? Was that something that's a factor, or was that not important at all?
I think belts are always important because that makes you the champion. No matter what level it is, you're still a champion. I remember guys, I used to ask them when they go in territory, hey, you think you'll get the belt? They'd say, I don't need the belt. I just want to draw money. Well, you moron. You only put guys on top that draw money that have the belt. Now, there are guys that don't have the belt that are tremendous hands that can be in programs and stuff. But mostly, you got to have a belt in territory because that's what they feature. That's where you're going to make your money. Simple. I never had a belt.
Next question.
What does it feel like in the ring for anybody on the panel?
It's yeah, it's real good. It's exciting. It's a rush.
Feels like home.
Yeah, it is home. That's why we're still here. It is home. It's home to me. That's when I'm most happiest.
Next question, Philip.
My question is for Dusty Rhodes. I was watching Raw last week and I saw that they fired Jim Ross, or I guess from announcing anyway. Mm-hmm. And there's been 3 announcers that I admired since like the 80s, is Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon and Jim Ross. They just have a great style of how they're on the mic, and I just wondering, how do you feel about that, and where they're going with the announcers' perspective of how they're going to go with announcing?
Well, I think that Ross is, he's got the best call in the industry. He makes you feel like it's a Super Bowl game. If he calls a match, I mean, it's the main event. It's amazing call. Kind of throwback to the Garden Soli days. He was by far the greatest of all time. And Monsoon and Bobby and I mean, they were untouchable, but Ross had to probably, forgive the words, kids hide your ears, but piss somebody off down the road there, but he was the best. He's going to be a big loss. I mean, I was amazed, but, I don't know who's going to take his place unless it's the plumber's son from Austin, Texas. We'll wait and see. Then it won't be no loss. It'll be a gain.
Cornelius, you have another question?
Yes, my question's for Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. At the recent WWE Hall of Fame, Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, people, come on! At the recent WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, Hulk Hogan came out and he was thanking everybody, Jimmy Hart, The Sheik, Nikolai, and when he got to you, it seems like you were the only one that didn't stand up to shake his hand. So I was wondering if there's any tension between you and Hogan, and what was it like to work with him?
Well, yeah, because I'm pissed off that he made all the money and I made him. So that's the problem I have. Amen. A lot of guys up here too that did just that. No, listen, I don't have to, I don't hate nobody. I don't love it. I don't hate it. And I got a bad back, my knees. So I'm not up there to get up and down and, for nobody. That's just the way it was.
Excuse me, I've got to leave. I'm going to go film another Hogan's Knows Best.
What's the matter? You're not sick?
Right. Mom's asked me to come in. He's my brother-in-law.
No, that's just the way it was. That's all. It's the way it was.
Wait.
Dusty, how do you feel about Zach Allen being in TNA?
Who is that?
For that?
No, really.
My son apologized.
That's all right. I had no.
All right, I got one more for the panel. If you guys were in the ring today, could you take a bump?
Oh, the one-legged guy.
That question is easy to answer. The answer is no. I didn't take none when I was in good shape.
I didn't take too many myself. Harley took a lot of bumps.
Question?
Yeah, this question is for Dusty. Now that you're writing for the WWE, do they still try to control
How do you know I'm
back there?
writing for the WWE? How do you know I'm just infiltrated the company?
Well, this is if you were writing for the WWE.
Right.
Do you come in conflict with, the young guys that come in there with the degrees from these, elite colleges trying to write for the WWE? Because I know the majority of this stuff don't come from the old school guys. You legends here in front of us today who used to go out there and put your heart and soul into the shows and not all this glitz and glamour. How would you try to, persuade some of the younger guys who just want us to see us, the viewers, just to see the sex and the, the nastiness in it
right.
all?
It's kind of like Bad News said. They come in on Monday and they all put in their suggestions. And this is the way that I keep them away from me. I throw a piece of paper down, handwritten. It says Dusty Rhodes versus Harley Race, Monday Night Raw. And they say, okay, thank you. Okay, I wait about 4 or 5 hours and they come back in. So there's not a lot of interaction there. These guys are pretty talented kids, the ones that are there right now. They've wrote a lot of stuff. I mean, they're amazing. They can type fast, buddy. These guys can type, you know what I mean? So I'm finding it interesting in the battles we have over just what these guys are talking about right here. Are my battles with them, and because I've done it before. I'm not just there, So, but it's a lot of fun. And like Greg said about the black hair, there was about a year and a half there that I was running around with polka dots on. You remember? and I would say, man, this is crap. I ain't gonna do this until Wednesday, and that's when we got our check. So I'd go another week. I said, I ain't gonna do this no more. And say, well, wait another day. Well, I said, well, if it's Tuesday, I'll wait till Wednesday. I get my check. Then pretty soon, I kind of got used to it. But it was cool. I had a lot of fun with it. He didn't say you had to do that. Greg got drunk and had somebody dye his hair black. He didn't tell the whole story. He didn't tell you the whole story. I thought it'd be cool. It was fun. There's nothing. Harley got mad at me, but that's all right. Harley said, somebody said he took all the bumps. That's wrong. I've never been beat over the years so much and Harley just, I mean, I did everything in the world to make him look great. Can you get up to the table there, buddy?
What in the hell did I just hear?
We got time for about two more. You?
For Dusty, what do you think about BG James from the 3 Life Crew?
I like him, very talented. That's a good choice. It was better than your other one. That was a good question. But you know what, Red? I don't think he's as good as Zach Gowan. That's a one-legged guy. I like BJ. I like him a lot. He's old school. I really do. Good family, right? The Armstrongs. Is that it? Is he from the Armstrongs, right? Somebody help me out down here. That dude don't even know him, but help me out. Yeah, he's an Armstrong, right?
Yeah. You have a question, bud?
Who, me?
Yeah.
What is it?
He just wants to hold the microphone.
He thinks you're great. That's what he was going to say.
Oh, cool. I'm blessed. Thank you.
All right, we got time for one more. Last question. Make it a good one.
I was always wondering, you guys are in a long match, 10, 15-minute match. Do you guys actually rehearse the entire match itself? I've always wondered this, and it might be a stupid question. If it is, defer to somebody else. But do you guys practice the beginning and the end, and you kind of like improvise as you go in between, or is it the whole thing rehearsed?
Let me jump on this for a second.
Wait a minute, hold on. I've been discriminated against because I worked 22 years in this business and I heard this. Nobody ever told me that. How come I didn't know that when I went in the ring? Yeah, you know, see you guys, you lied to me. You pulling all kind of stuff behind my back. That you went, minute for minute. I never heard this before. It's unbelievable.
It is.
Greg, it's all your fault.
That's the thing that excuse me, kids, that really ticked me off, and I would have said something else, is this stuff constantly talking about a script. I went probably 1,000 hours with the man sitting on the end, and up through here, countless number of hours with all the people that are sitting here. And not one damn thing was written out for anybody. I just cannot buy into the philosophy that you can script stuff for people. If you stumble and fall, where do you go from the script? If you're not talented enough to pick it up and go with it, then all the writers in the world are not going to make you a star.
That's the problem. That's what's wrong with the wrestling business today, because it's a lost art, and our generation was more or less got out of the business, went independent or whatever, and WWF, WWE went on its merry way with a lot of young guys, nobody to pass the torch to in the right way. When I first got into business, I was 19 years old. All the guys that were on top were 45 years and older. And I said, why are all these old guys on top? But now I know, because we used to say it took 8 to 10 years for a polished worker to really become on his own, and I still believe it. And it's a lost art, because you go out there, you ad-lib, you don't talk. I never sat there and went over what I was going to do going out there. I couldn't remember it anyway. It's a feeling. It's a feeling that you have, and if you couldn't catch it and you couldn't grasp it, then you weren't going to make it. But now a lot of times they push people that have to carry a script with them. I've never seen that, but I've heard that. But it's a lost art, and that's what's wrong with it today.
I'm with Greg. I'm not capable of remembering all that stuff. And I've gone many times with Harley an hour. Tito Santana right here has probably been one of my best friends in this business. Not only is he a good man, but he's one of the best guys that I ever had matches with. And our match just quite often, who was your best matches. And me and Tito, because he played in the NFL, I did too. He played college, I did too. And we had a lot of the same visions as far in this business, and that was to be
like the Races and the Heenans and the Dusties and people like that, that you can make that big paycheck. Because that was the reason I was in it, was for the paycheck, you know. And it seems nowadays that, like Greg said, and Dusty and Tito, these other guys, that we never had no script. And that's the difference between having house shows and not having house shows. When you got these scripts, the people ain't buying it because, see, you're all out of tune with the people. You got to be in tune with everybody, and you got to be able to, you know, capture that moment. And it's just like a football play when you hit a hole. You don't have 5/10 of a second to decide whether you want to hit that hole. You got to know, and you know that from experience, this is the right thing to do. And that's what Greg was talking about, 8 to 10 years. That's exactly the way I was told, exactly. And he's right. And by that time, you do get an idea of it, and it probably takes even longer, to the point that you know how to put butts in those seats right there. And once you can do that, and you know how to say, and you know how to talk, and you know what kind of matches you're with, and the right people, you know, it takes two to tango. And it's you're real good workers. There's a type guy like Harley that could work and have a match with anybody. That's talent. And a lot of you people here, I'm sorry to say, don't know what talent is, because you were young and you didn't really get to see what talent really was. You may not remember it. And because a lot of you people here were during the era of the good days, the good ones. Will it ever be like that? No way, because we're all going to be dead in 25 years, and then who's going to pass it on? There is nobody. Except the old tapes that have been bought from WCW. And so, just like somebody said up here, this is history, and we, you know, every one of us up here made wrestling probably, well, I ain't gonna want to say what it is today, because, you know, I ain't gonna say that, but we really put it on the map when it came to making some big money. And everybody up here has made big money. You know, we never had a contract. No way. You know, and we did what we had to do, and everybody was trying to get to that main event. That's what we were all trying to get to. And we did. I did. All of us did up here.
You know something, you'll never learn to wrestle in an arena or a gym. We learn to wrestle in a car. You talk in the car afterwards. You drive 400 or 500 miles. You talk over your match. You talk over your interviews. Before a match, you go out there, they give you the finish. Before the match, you go out there and watch what the match before you was doing. If they're working the arm, you don't work the arm. Now, nobody goes out there and watches what the guy did before them. They all do the same things. Nobody rides in a car anymore and discusses. That part of the caring and the education of the business is lost. I don't think it'll ever be redone again, but that's where you learn to work. You listen to the old timers. You pay them respect. And you watch what they did. But you weren't in the cars. Nowadays, you guys get in the plane, they go to sleep. They rent a car, they go to a hotel, they go by themselves. You never talk to anybody. There are guys in this business today that will write down everything in a match. To the point is, when we get in the ring, the referee will come out. He will talk to you first, then talk to you. Don't you know that? It's like when you get in the plane, you say, I put the seatbelt on. Everybody came in the car, so you must know how to use the seatbelt. But that part of the business is gone. It's we cared more, I think. I think that's what it was. I sure as hell cared more. Because we had to, we pulled up to a building, if there were 50 cars more than there were the last time, we'd, hey, tonight we're going to make some money. Now you pull up, the place is packed. It doesn't matter.
I like to say, because I was just recently at the WWE, and nothing against them, just that that's where I worked. It's so true. When I came up, it started 10 years ago. When I worked the Indies, you went to the veterans, you introduced yourself, you said hello, and then you were up their butt to find out any little morsel of information to learn so that you could get to that WWE, because you had to have, like Mr. Valentine said, 8 years to just be able to go in there and grace that ring. And I saw what made me upset, was because that's the way I was brought in. When I was there, no one watched the shows. They would work the arm 2 times, 2 matches in a row, or one, someone working a match. They work the arm, then the next match, and then the next match did exactly what the 2 matches before did. And The only time you ever saw everyone in front of the monitor to watch the matches was at the end of the day. Because they wanted everyone to see all the agents and, you know, hopefully Vince walked out and saw you watching and acted like they cared. I mean, you had your few that really did care from beginning to end. And that made me sad because it makes the business die. And I think it's disrespectful to the men and women that were here before us because they gave their lives, their families. They didn't want some of their children even be born. And I think it's a disgrace. Honestly, I was in the back at times and someone would come up to me, no disrespect to you, and this is a true story. So, another female came up to me.
Oh, it's Vince.
Boy, said I.
I'm sorry.
And they asked me, they said, Dawn, who is that over there?
Hey,
I just look at them and I'm going, how are you here today and not know?
Yes.
It's disgusting.
But yeah, I gotta go. I'm serious.
You know, and it's just very sad that the business is going to die. And like they said, 25 years from now, they're all, you know, he said they're all going to be dead or whatever. Maybe not in a literal sense, but they're not going to be able to teach. And no one wants to learn. They all think they know it all. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. And you know, I don't apologize to you guys. You know, I don't know what to say. You know, it kind of sounds like corny, but it was disgusting to me as someone that had learned that way.
Question.
But you know, we don't get a chance to do this that much. We try to give the best job we can in that ring. But really, thank you people. Thank you. Because you people, without you, we don't have nothing. That's the truth.